Of all the villains in the Fairly OddParents universe, there's only one who looks like he hasn't slept since the 90s. His name is Denzel Crocker, and boy is he obsessed with fairies. Timmy's wild-eyed, paranoid, and totally unhinged teacher who spends every second of his life trying to catch a glimpse of fairy godparents. But have you ever wondered why? Well, that's where I come in, because today we'll be taking a tour through Mr. Crocker's entire story to find out where this obsession began. And more importantly, did he always have an ear on his neck? You can't lie, it's a little overdue, so we better get into it. This may come as a surprise, but Mr. Crocker wasn't always hell-bent on hunting and exposing fairies. I know it's hard to imagine, but he was once a kid himself. And in the episode, The Secret Origin of Mr. Crocker, we get to see what life was like for a 10-year-old Denzel. Basically, Timmy becomes super curious as to why Crocker gets really obsessed with fairies on the 15th of March every year. So, he wishes for a time-traveling device to go back to the 14th March, 1972, to see what turned Crocker into the mean machine he is today. Timmy gets one hell of a shock when he bumps into his teacher. Young Denzel is nothing like his future self. Well, he still has that ear-neck thing going on. I mean, what is that all about? Anyway, he's kind, he's popular, he's happy. I hope you're all thinking what I'm thinking. What happened to him? Well, believe it or not, Denzel has his own set of fairy godparents, who I'm sure you've all seen before. Like any kid who has it rough in the show, he was given a set of fairies, and it is wild that he had the same ones as Timmy. Well, what's even more wild is that Crocker saves Timmy from being run over by a runaway truck. Obviously, the whole Dimsdale sees the heroics and makes the 14th March Denzel Crocker Day. The thing is though, as good as that might be, Crocker accidentally exposes his fairy godparents when giving his speech. And those of you who've watched the show will know, the Fairy Council will not let that slide. They show up and take Cosmo and Wanda away from Crocker. But what's worse, they erase his and the whole town's mind of fairies, including every good deed done by Crocker. He then wakes up on the 15th as an outcast, as if the last few years had been a dream. But the Fairy Council didn't do that good of a job with Crocker. He still has lingering memories of fairy godparents, the memories that drive him mad and turn him into the freak he is today. It does put a whole different spin on it, doesn't it? Now, back to the present day. The first time we meet the Crocker we all know and hate is in the Season 1 episode, Transparents. It's a classic bit of Timmy wanting to be the center of attention, so he wishes to bring an extinct dinosaur to show and tell. Now, I know a lot of us would probably just faint by seeing a dino, but Crocker, he thinks fairies. So to sniff out any potential magical godparents, he organizes a teacher-parents conference to outright ask Timmy's mom and dad what the hell was going on with their son. However, Crocker's real plan is to lure Timmy into using his fairies to pose as his parents, and Timmy falls for it hook, line, and sinker. Denzel does go a bit far though. I mean, he sets up an electric chair-like contraption, hoping to use it on Timmy's parents, because if they survive, they're fairies, and if they don't, well, I guess he can finally be sent to the loony bin for the rest of his life. His plan backfires, though, in a shocking turning of the tables. That first defeat for Crocker fueled him to go on a fairy-mad rampage for the next couple of seasons. But it wasn't until the 3-part Abra Catastrophe saga that we saw the true extent of his madness. It starts with a celebration, as Timmy has officially kept his fairy godparents secret for 1 whole year. So, as a reward, he's given a magical muffin that allows anyone who eats it to make one wish with no rules. Can I just say whoever thought about giving a kid that much power is insane? Things naturally go off the rails when Crocker catches wind of the muffin and tries to snatch it for himself. But it's actually AJ's monkey who eats the muffin, and he wishes for the world to be ruled by, you guessed, monkeys. Humans are now pets, and their fairy godparents are reassigned to baby monkeys. Crocker finally sees the fairies, and that sparks him to catch Wanda and use her power to become the supreme ruler of the world. With the muffin now in his possession, seemingly nothing can stop Crocker. Luckily though, Timmy rises up against the resistance using other magical items he got from his fairyversary and manages to snatch the muffin back, wishing for the world to go back to how it was, without Crocker or the monkeys as evil overlords. Well, we've seen Crocker with fairies, we've seen him trying to capture them, so what about watching him go to something he should have done years ago? Therapy. It's long overdue, that's for sure. He takes the plunge to sort out this mental health in the Season 7 episode Crocker Shocker. Obviously sick and tired of being plagued with his weird fairy obsession, he turns to Dr. Phyllis Fancyfree in order to hypnotize himself out of it. And it works? Crocker suddenly transforms back into the caring, fun-loving soul we saw a little earlier, and all he needed was to not believe in fairies. But the fairies, meanwhile, take a massive hit. Turns out Crocker alone was propping up their entire existence just due to how much he believed in them. So with the fairy world on the brink of extinction, Timmy, Cosmo, and Wanda realize they need to get Crocker obsessed with fairies again. It'll need more than a bit of magic. They'll pull out all of the stops and eventually decide the last chance they have of getting Crocker to believe again is if they take him to the fairy world itself. The main problem with that, though, is the world has basically become a slum, drained of all of its life, and it's certainly not the magical place they need in order to bring back Crocker's belief. So the gang tries to think of some way, any way, to save the fairy world. Timmy then realizes that if Crocker was hypnotized, he must have a safe word which will snap him back to his old ways. But what is the one thing Crocker would never hear?
Can't believe I'm saying this, but Mr. Crocker, you're the best teacher ever!
That's kind of sad, man. With that, though, Crocker instantly goes back to his old ways, and the fairy world begins gaining back its magical power. He does have to go back to therapy again, but what do you expect? The guy literally saw the whole of the fairy world. Dr. Fancy Free does a bad job at fully removing the idea of fairies from Crocker's brain, so whilst he has no proof they exist, he's back to being a fairy-obsessed outcast. But considering he saved the fairy world, there must be some good left in him, right? Well, actually, yeah. Come on, you didn't expect me to say that, did you? Because in the Season 7 Wishology saga, Mr. Crocker steps up and battles against evil. Basically, the whole universe is being threatened by the darkness. No, not the band with Justin Hawkins, but an ancient celestial body that consumes worlds. Timmy tries everything he can to battle against it, but he realizes he needs to turn to others for help, even if that means asking Crocker. Despite being a nutcase, Crocker is actually a bit of a brain box and has put together a super sophisticated telescope that can see deep into space and can tell Timmy where the darkness currently is. Okay, it can do that, but it was designed to try and find Fairy World, really. Crocker agrees, but under one circumstance. Timmy has to admit that he has a pair of fairy godparents. That's never gonna happen. Timmy wouldn't tell anyone.
I have fairies.
I can't be right all the time. After Timmy drops that bombshell, Crocker also tells him about his secret rocket that they, and a few other of the people in Timmy's team, can use to take the fight to the darkness. And thanks to his weirdly good mode of transport, the team manages to give the ancient evil his marching orders. But as a result of that, the whole universe goes back to the way it was before the darkness, meaning Crocker still doesn't have any proof that fairies exist. So he goes back to his spasming self, waiting and ironically wishing to find a fairy. And there he stays for pretty much the rest of the series. Denzel Crocker is an interesting man to say the least. His life started out with so much promise, and for sure he used fairies' magic to do a lot more good than Timmy ever has. It's a shame we didn't get to see that side of him more. You know, instead of always seeing the guy obsessed with. Hope you've enjoyed looking back on Fairly OddParents' oddest character. I know I have. Let me know down below what your favorite Mr. Crocker moment is, and tell me who I should cover next. But for now, I'll see you all next time.